We're back with another entry in the Mega Man timeline series, the Mega Man story. Last time I covered the original classic that spawned the entire multi-Mega Man universe, and its shiny reimagining Mega Man Powered Up. I went over the Blue Bomber's creation as an new IP, about a small robot boy fighting against the evil Dr. Wily and his mechanical genius. From Dr. Light's first creation, Blues, his mechanically improved successor Rock, all the way through Mega Man's first encounter and victory against his maniacal evil arch-nemesis. From here we'll be mega busting through the rest of the series in chronological order, with the next two games being the NES Mega Man 2 and the Game Boy Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. Now you may be asking yourself, how can he make an entire video about two games that, without any additional materials, have almost no story? Besides, bad robots appear, Mega Man beats them again. Especially Dr. Wily's Revenge, which does play like a remix of the original with some added elements, mixed with 1 and 2, but we'll be answering some questions, using some supplemental materials such as the Archie comics, and multiple Japanese manga elements, and even elements introduced in the mostly non-canon, Japan-only Super Adventure Rockman. Added plot points that cleanly fit right in without stretching the imagination much. Why does Mega Man end up in space in Dr. Wily's Revenge? Why are some of the previously defeated Robot Masters back? What's with the alien at the end of Mega Man 2? And how do we seamlessly continue the story from Mega Man 1 and flow through the next two entries? Before we get started, I would like to express a huge thank you and shout out to all of my Patreon members for your continued support. You guys help make this channel possible and contribute to keeping these videos flowing. If you'd like to have your name up here too, gain exclusive benefits like sneak peeks at upcoming content, detailed progress updates, behind the scenes, access to the Discord exclusive channel, and early access to videos, go to patreon.com/GamerThumbTV or click the link in the description to get started. And now the Mega Man story, Chapter 2, Dr. Wily Strikes Back. 1987, Mega Man releases to the masses. A new, eventually iconic video game series was created, but did the world embrace the Blue Bomber and his battle to defeat the evil Dr. Wily in droves? No. No, they did not. Although it's remembered through nostalgia-covered lenses in today's world, the original Mega Man game did not perform well. At least not by Capcom standards. The sales for Mega Man were deemed unimpressive. It seemed that this new idea could be put on ice. Capcom had no desire to continue the series immediately, but director Akira Kitamura had faith in their new creation. He wanted a bigger and better sequel, but he encountered an obstacle with Mega Man producer Takuro Fujiwara, who didn't share the same optimism in a sequel. In response, Kitamura went directly to the vice president of Capcom at the time, and was able to get the green light for a Mega Man sequel under a certain condition. Mega Man 2 couldn't be the team's only focus. Capcom was shooting on all cylinders, and the team had to work on other projects at the same time. And so development on the game began. They worked on various Capcom titles, and focused on Mega Man 2's development on their free time. Keiji Inafune was invited back into the Mega Man team after his character design work on the first game. With the original game, the limitations of the time forced much of its original content to be cut from the final product. But as developers gained more experience with the NES, they were able to work around its limitations more efficiently, and much of the previous unused content was added into Mega Man 2. Many player complaints around the first game centered around its high difficulty when maneuvering around levels. This time, instead of having a single assist item, the Magnet Beam, that allowed Mega Man to create small platforms, he would get 3 support items. Item 1 was a small floating platform for Mega Man to stand on, and he can have up to 3 of them deployed at the same time. Item 2 was a small jet sled that could be used to pass longer gaps. And Item 3, a platform that could crawl along walls, and Mega Man could use it as a sort of elevator. And now energy tanks could be collected that act as health reserves for Mega Man in case he runs low on energy. Items that became staples of the series in various forms. Everything about Mega Man 2 would be bigger. Instead of 6 Robot Masters, the game created a new standard for the series, moving forward with 8 Robot Masters. And this time the newly created Mega Man fans would be brought in to be part of the game's design. The new Robot Master designs would be a community effort. Capcom held a boss character design contest which resulted in over 8,000 character entries. 10 of the participants received a jacket that said staff only on it, and 100 of them received a Mega Man 2 music audio cassette. Some of you may remember these ancient devices. Total development time on Mega Man 2 was only 3 to 4 months, so the creators were on a strict deadline to get the game finished and shipped. 8 winners' designs would be chosen, but Capcom couldn't wait for all the submissions to arrive before selecting the winning designs. They'd already started creating the game's stages and themes, and they had a vague idea of what type of robot master would be needed for each stage. When some of the designs from fan submissions matched up with Capcom's own ideas, Keiji Inafune changed them up and redesigned them as necessary, while using the original fan submission as the base idea. For example, the water-themed robot master submitted by fans went from Waterman through multiple designs until he was given the name Bubble Man, one of the names of the original bosses from Mega Man 1 that didn't make the final cut. The Robot Masters of Mega Man 2 would be a fun fusion of fan input, previously abandoned ideas, and Keiji Inafune's creativity. The end result gave the fans Woodman, Flashman, Boomerang Man became Quickman, Drill Man, a name reused for Mega Man 4, but in Mega Man 2 he became Crashman. Airman, Inafune's favorite design, was Heat Man due to his gimmick. I mean, he does look cool, he's a little fire robot that's shaped like a lighter. While his least favorite was Metal Man due to being the absolute easiest of the bunch to destroy. Metal Man is a pushover, a pathetic joke character among fans since he looks so deadly and cool with those razor sharp blades that he throws, yet his own weapon could kill him in about 2 hits.
Time to cut you down to size, Mega Man!
In fact, the boss weaknesses in Mega Man 2 are all sort of unnecessary and unclear, very different from what fans are used to today where a character has a very specific weakness. Characters like Woodman have multiple weapons they're weak against, and most of the others can be killed quickly by just spamming Metal Man's blades. To address the difficulty concerns, Mega Man 2 was given a normal and a difficult setting. Difficult being the original Japanese difficulty, and normal being the easier setting that made Mega Man's buster and enemy weapons stronger. It also continued the tradition of having box art that barely represented the game. Although not as horrific as the original game's American box art, Mega Man 2's was also pretty out there. The Japanese box art of course represented the game's aesthetic fairly accurately. While the PAL version looked like a strange retro sci-fi movie poster, Mega Man's this metallic silver, there's a weird floating face in the top right corner, and at least this Mega Man does have an arm cannon. And here's the American version. Once again, I unironically love it. Let's analyze it. Crashman is in the background, and I think it's supposed to be a shadow on his face, but the way it's drawn, as a kid I always thought it was a red beard, so he always looked like a middle-aged Scottish man in spandex to me. Dr. Light is standing behind Crashman, for some reason pointing at Mega Man like, hey, go get him. You know, he's on the wrong side. He's supposed to be on Mega Man's team. And Mega Man, at least he's the right color this time, but he's absolutely sick of miscolored Quickman shit. So he just unpacks a handgun and starts unloading on him. Yes, Mega Man has a handgun. Why? I'll explain. Simply put, Capcom USA strikes again. Capcom was in a rush to get the game out by the deadline. They sent a beta of the game over to America. They called in talented NES box art artist Mark Erickson, who's actually created several pieces of really good NES box art.
I've done 90 to 100 video game covers. Mega Man 2, Guerrilla War, First Over Germany, Vigilante.
He was shown footage of the game by their art director, again, the art director of the game. Said there was no rifle visible, so it must have been a pistol. So Capcom told Mark Erickson to just draw a pistol, and only gave him a day and a half to do the finished painting.
You could not make out the pixels. I'm being confronted with a set of colored dots that are so few in number that I have no idea what I'm looking at. They would describe the action. Here's the attack. One thing that was an issue with me all along was the idea that I might be cheating the gamers by virtue of creating a visual that really wasn't in the game.
And so Capcom USA continues the trend of rushed artwork to sell a game. Did it work? Well, yes, it did. Mega Man 2 released in Japan first in December of 1988. In North America, June 1989. Mega Man 2 saved the franchise. Reviews praised its improved aspects, audio, gameplay, visuals. It has sold over 1.5 million copies since its release, and to this day is seen not only as one of the best Mega Man games of all time, but among the greatest video games of all time. So successful that Capcom quickly capitalized on it. Apart from the NES game, Tiger Electronics released an LCD version of the game even. If you remember these, they fooled you back then into thinking that you had this little mini arcade in your hands because of the artwork and the bezel, and the gameplay was very far from that. Mega Man 2 was even told in novel form in the Worlds of Power series published by Scholastic in 1990. Oddly enough though, in the story, Dr. Light accidentally turns Mega Man into a human after trying to duplicate him. No, this does not happen in the game, nor does it happen in any Mega Man game ever. With the success of Mega Man 2, Mega Man became a household name among gamers, and it opened the door for more sequels and spin-offs, including the second game that we'll be focusing on in this video, Dr. Wily's Revenge for the Nintendo Game Boy.
Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
Not only had Mega Man teleported into our homes through the Nintendo Entertainment System, we also had Mega Man action on car rides. Dr. Wily's Revenge was the first Mega Man game to be developed outside of Capcom. Instead, it was created by a company called Minakuchi Engineering. Keiji Inafune still worked on the illustrations for the game, but the man in charge of the team developing it was a huge fan of Mega Man, and he understood what made the series so fun to play. Inafune has even stated that they seem to understand Mega Man more than some of Capcom's own people. I mean, they had employees asking artists to draw Mega Man packing handguns, so it's an understandable take. This new sub-series of Game Boy Mega Man games is known in Japan as Rockman World, although in the English releases it never used the subtitle World. The English version was subtitled Dr. Wily's Revenge, and began a tradition of using bosses from the previous two mainline games. The first one reusing Mega Man 1 and 2 Robot Masters, although the levels weren't repeated. The actual stages were brand new creations, not just copy and paste versions of the ones you've already played, as well as the final stage and final boss, making the game stand out from Mega Man 1 and 2. Dr. Wily's Revenge also introduced a new character to the lore that was part of a new series of Robot Master called Mega Man Killers. The character known as Enker, he was the first character in the series that Keiji Inafune was able to create from scratch. No previously designed ideas, no fancy missions, Enker was all his creation. His name also kept the music motif going, just like rock and blues. This one meant to reference the Japanese music genre enka. It's debatable whether the game is truly canon or not, since it's got virtually no story and it's more of a portable version of Mega Man 1 than a true sequel. Taking it out of the timeline would change nothing, but it does take place sometime between Mega Man 2 and 3, although it was released after 3, the NES version. I have to specify that because we eventually did get a Mega Man 2 and 3 on Game Boy that were completely unrelated to the NES versions, and they were titled with Roman numerals on the box versus traditional numbers. Those will be a story for another video. Dr. Wily's Revenge released in Japan July 1991, North America on December 1991. Its sales figures didn't reach the level of Mega Man 2, but overall, it's been reviewed well, and does retain the feel of the NES games. The main critiques usually involve the reuse of boss characters, instead of creating new ones. And that's how the next two chronological Mega Man games came to be. How do they work together to progress the storyline of the series, and what dangers will Mega Man face when Dr. Wily strikes back? Dr. Wily's first attempt to destroy the city and begin taking over the world with the reprogrammed Dr. Light Robot Masters had failed. His Wily machine was destroyed and he was captured by the heroic, super fighting robot Mega Man. But in a devious plot to kidnap Roll, Wily distracted and fooled the authorities, resulting in his escape. For the time being, he wouldn't face his actions and became a fugitive on the run, and Mega Man returned to the city he called home. A city that was now under his protection. When he wasn't on patrol protecting the city, Mega Man was assisting Dr. Light with reprogramming the last two Robot Masters. Oil Man and Time Man were the last two that were in Dr. Wily's control, and Light was impressed that Wily was able to finish them based on his designs. Both Light and Mega Man knew it was only a matter of time before Wily returned. Dr. Light still felt incredible guilt over Wily's attack. Wily used his robot masters to turn against humanity. Without Light's help and resources, Wily wouldn't have had a way to threaten anyone. For now, the damage was repaired, and the light-numbered robot masters were shipped out in the world, accomplishing the tasks they were designed for. Oilman was helping clean up environmental disasters. Fireman was incinerating garbage. Elecman was providing power with clean energy. They were all slowly finding their place in the world. Dr. Wily, on the other hand, was still plotting, and he was fuming over his loss to Mega Man and Dr. Light. He began using his remaining army of robots to fast-track the replacement of his Wily castle, and they began constructing several new fortresses all over the world that would also act as robot factories. In case Mega Man came after him, he would need multiple backup plans to ensure his next world domination plot could succeed. If one failed, he would always have another ready. Stealing Dr. Light's robot masters and reprogramming them was only the beginning. They were expendable creations. Wily's true motives in their capture was to study them closely and create his own superior robot masters, the first in a series of Wily model numbers. He was determined to think outside the box and create robot masters that could push the limits beyond what Dr. Light believed was possible, by combining ideas from the first robot masters and improving their design. And this time Mega Man would be taken into account. Wily's robot masters would be built from the ground up as fighting robots. Since Mega Man was now far beyond a simple helper robot, Light began creating more assistants. The first one was a round green robot named Otto, designed to help with new inventions. One by one, Dr. Light's robot family was growing, and together they celebrated the renaming of Monstropolis. Its citizens voted to rename it Mega City, to honor the hero that saved them all. And they hoped this newfound peace would last. Perhaps they could say goodbye to Mega Man and welcome back Rock, but peace would be temporary. The Wily numbers, Wily's first robot masters, were ready, and one of them was sent to provoke Mega Man. He moved with incredible speed, and in a surprise attack that was over in the blink of an eye, Mega Man was sent flying and pinned to the wall with boomerangs. The robot master also shoved Dr. Light and Roll out of the way and knocked Otto down, before revealing Wily's plot. Dr. Wily had a message. Not only will the city pay for his previous defeat, the entire world will. This robot master and his 7 robot brothers stand ready to destroy the entire city in 6 hours, unless Mega Man can stop them. If the authorities were called, or if an evacuation would be started, the destruction would begin early. The robot master vanished in a flash of speed, and Otto released Mega Man. Dr. Light was perplexed how Wily could build new robots so quickly without resources, but he was unaware of Wily's deepest secrets and discoveries. Mega Man was determined to stop his nemesis for the second time. He did it once before, and he was confident that he could do it again, even if these new robot masters were created for combat. This new conflict with Wily was a race against time, and Dr. Wily hoped that in the rush, Mega Man would make mistakes. Dr. Light's connections with law enforcement contacted him and gave him the coordinates to an industrial processing plant where robots were behaving erratically and attacking the workers. It was happening all over again. Worker bots had turned against their human masters, and the plant was evacuated. It was only a matter of time before the rest of the city learned what was happening. The industrial plant was now the domain of Metal Man, model number DWN-009, Dr. Wily number 9. Metal Man's design was based on Cutman, although unlike Cutman, Metal Man's design was incredibly flawed. He was vulnerable to other sharp objects, including his own blades. Much like the previous Robot Masters, he developed his own personality with some very unusual quirks. Metal Man was serious and humorless, yet enjoyed throwing frisbees, and he disliked dogs, due to them being labeled man's best friend. When Dr. Light learned of the intel behind Metal Man, he immediately began thinking of such a robot having applications in the dental industry. Metal Man's domain was filled with several robots that were out of control, including molds, simple digging robots that Dr. Wily purchased in mass numbers before it betrayed humanity. Blocky robots, stacks of robot blocks meant for entertainment, robot circuses, Blocky's circus partner, and its second half, the jester-like Pierrobot, and springers, built from the remains of the previously used and destroyed Crazy Razies. But none of those obstacles would be enough to stop Mega Man from confronting Metal Man. Once Mega Man arrived in his lair, he was attacked instantly. Metal Man wasn't interested in formal introductions. He declared himself the robot master that Cutman should have been. Metal Man had an almost unlimited amount of blades to throw. and Mega Man was forced to destroy him. From his robotic remains, he was still able to absorb Metal Man's Metal Blade ability. From the industrial plant, Mega Man teleported to Titanium Park in downtown Mega City as his mystery attacker observed his progress. His next target, model number DWN-016, Woodman. One of Dr. Wily's favorite creations. He was unique among the robot masters, constructed from actual wood, from Japanese cypress trees, and lined with a thin layer of metallic coating. His wooden design made him physically strong, but at the same time, it made him extremely flammable. As a nature-based robot, Woodman developed a personality that was protective over nature. He enjoyed hiking and dreamed to one day be a sumo wrestler. Unfortunately, Dr. Wily's programming doomed him to obsess over destroying Mega Man. Titanium Park was usually a relaxing go-to spot for families to have picnics and peaceful strolls. Woodman's minions turned it into a nightmare. Dr. Wily reprogrammed a series of bat-like robots called Batons, designed to patrol forests and keep predators away. They also became so popular that some people kept them as pets in the home. Robbits played a similar role, rabbit-like robots meant to populate the forest, as well as the chicken and roadrunner-like cuckoos. All peaceful nature robots, twisted by Dr. Wily's evil plot. Wily also released a group of Monkings in the park to cause chaos among the trees, and big blue Friender robots. These were built with a fire extinguisher on their tails to put out forest fires, but Wily changed their function to breathe fire instead. Woodman waited for Mega Man's arrival on his wooden throne, and Mega Man attempted to talk sense to him. They didn't have to fight. Dr. Light could reprogram Woodman to do good in the world. But Woodman's only purpose, his only program design, was to stop Mega Man. Mega Man warned him that he's an experienced warrior now and he stopped multiple robot masters. And Woodman unleashed the Razor Leaves from his leaf shield. The leaf struck with such speed that they tore through nearby trees. Mega Man barely dodged it. Woodman had a spinning shield of leaves protecting his body, and Mega Man desperately searched for a way to disable him without having to destroy him. But these robot masters simply couldn't be bargained with. The only way to stop them was ending their threat permanently. With a final blast to the head, Woodman's body collapsed. It was done. As with the others, Mega Man touched his remains and absorbed the same leaf shield Woodman used. Just behind his wooden throne, Mega Man discovered a door marked with Dr. Wily's insignia. It led to a waterway leading to a hydroelectric power plant. Once Mega Man walked through the nearby waterfall, he discovered a group of Kirogs staring at him, robot frogs that were once part of an underwater robot carnival, now reprogrammed to attack him. This was the domain of DWN-011, Bubble Man, Dr. Wily's first design intended for underwater combat. He developed a reckless personality, often convinced that he could take on threats way beyond his own capabilities. He also enjoys hot springs and hates oil. Mega Man made his way through the multiple Kirogs and their offspring, as well as other aquatic threats designed for seafloor exploration. The hermit crab-like Tanishi robots, the shrimp-like Shrinks, and the major robot that deployed them, the lanternfish-based Anko. Bubble Man also helped Dr. Wily deploy M445 exploration robots based on the larger CWU-01P that Mega Man faced in Wily's castle. And the crab-like claws, also used in underwater robot carnivals, all basic threats that were easy to neutralize for Mega Man. Bubble Man watched Mega Man's progress from a security monitor, and he was furious that he was destroying all the robots Wily had worked so hard to reprogram. In his mind, he would be the robot master to take down the Blue Bomber, yet he didn't even notice when Mega Man walked in right behind him. In a panic, Bubble Man blasted a bubble of concentrated sulfuric acid at Mega Man. Using his previously gained abilities, including the Leaf Shield, Mega Man was able to decimate Bubble Man. The Robot Master was in pieces, and Mega Man gained a variation of his bubble attack, the Lead Bubbles. After Bubble Man's defeat, the Robot Master that was following his progress attacked again with a furious speed. He knocked Mega Man down with his boomerangs and a knee to his face and held him down. His strength was incredible, and no matter how quickly Mega Man attacked, he would dodge his blast effortlessly. Perhaps Dr. Wily had truly created a threat that Mega Man couldn't overcome. But he wasn't there to destroy Mega Man, he was there to send Mega Man to his next target. He grabbed him and activated his own teleporter, arriving in a hot region, the domain of DWN-015, Heatman. The tunnels were artificially created by Dr. Wily, deep tunnels somewhere filled with magma, and disguised as a sewer system to the outside world. The lava was hot enough to melt Mega Man instantly. Heatman was created as an improved version of Fireman. Instead of simply producing fire, Heatman could raise the temperature around his body up to 12,000 degrees Celsius and cover himself in flames. He's also one of Wily's least motivated creations, often complaining about how hot it is, and completely unaware that he has a heat regulator dial on his back. After his creation, he developed an enjoyment of barbecues, though he doesn't eat, and hates ice cream, although he can't consume it. In the deep magma-filled tunnels, Mega Man faced Tellies, a small floating security robot with camera eyes, and Flyboys. Even these pogo-like robot toys designed for children were targets of Dr. Wily's reprogramming. Outside of toys and security cameras, the biggest threat to Mega Man was falling into the deadly heat of the magma below. Just before Heatman's lair, a rebuilt Sniper Joe riding sniper armor jumping machine confronted him. When Mega Man arrived to face Heatman, he caught the Robot Master complaining about how hot it was, and how Fireman didn't have to deal with this lack of heat resistance, though a simple turn of his dial would have fixed that issue instantly. Mega Man offered to skip their battle and move on with their day, and although Heatman appreciated the offer, he attacked Mega Man with his flaming charge. The regular blasts from Mega Man's buster were useless since Heatman protected himself with his lighter design. However, his flames could still be put out. Heatman may have survived the encounter, but he was on the floor powerless, yet thankful that Mega Man cooled him down. Once Mega Man touched him, he gained Heatman's atomic fire, and Heatman told him the location of the next Robot Master. DWN-010, Airman. Airman attacked and took over a series of platforms that were designed to monitor and control the weather above the city. If they were compromised, they could be used to manipulate the weather to cause havoc across the world. And Airman was leading a robot attack comprised of more robots stolen from circuses, including goblin platforms that deployed mini-goblins for aerial performances. Airman was a cocky one, and enjoyed patronizing others due to their lack of skill. His internal fans were prone to being clogged, so he developed a hatred of autumn and falling leaves. While waiting for deployment by Dr. Wily, he also began enjoying a Japanese card game known as Menko. In Airman's small army, Kaminari Goros rode cloud-like platforms in an effort to collect weather data until Wily reprogrammed them for combat. Pippy surveillance birds dropped eggs on Mega Man that deployed miniature co-Pippies. Squirms developed distorted iron pipes as obstacles to get in his way, and Metasaburos were placed in an attempt to blow Mega Man off platforms. They were designed as prototypes of Airman, but Dr. Wily decided to use them as distractions instead of disposing them. Airman was completely unimpressed by Mega Man, and declared that he was almost ready to attack the city since he took so long. By this time, Mega Man was beginning to struggle a bit. He'd been facing Robot Master after Robot Master without returning to Light Labs for rest and repair. Even Heatman's atomic fire didn't phase Airman's confidence. He simply activated his fan and blew away the flames. But Mega Man noticed the open fan port that was completely vulnerable. During the battle, Mega Man clogged Airman's spinning blade with the Leaf Shield attack, and his internal systems exploded. Airman's air shooter ability was now his, and near the aerial platforms, Mega Man found the command center taken over by DWN-013, Crashman. Dr. Light stepped away to create more support tools for Mega Man while Roll and Otto took over communications. The command center was a series of pipes and ladders leading to a main control room, where Crashman waited for a shot at Mega Man. It was protected by multiple threats Mega Man had already faced and the Neo Metals, upgrades in the Mets that he previously faced, but now they had mobility, and Shotman robots intended to be used for firefighting purposes. With Crashman, Dr. Wily sought to combine the strength of Gutsman and Bombman into one robot. A sturdy armored body and explosive weapons deployed from drill hands. He also had a short fuse, and Crashman couldn't control his anger. Before deployment, he dreamed of demolishing buildings. He hates recycling, and he's sensitive about his lack of traditional hands, something Mega Man was able to take advantage of. When Mega Man arrived, Crashman bragged about how advanced he was, a fusion of two robot designs. Mega Man decided to make fun of him and questioned if he was so advanced, why didn't he have hands? Crashman was instantly furious and saw red. He wildly began deploying explosives everywhere as Mega Man jumped out of the way, resulting in one of his easiest victories. During the battle, all the explosives Crashman unleashed carelessly exploded, and a ton of heavy pipes collapsed on him. Some of them still remained without exploding, and Mega Man quickly stole his Crash Bomber ability. Crashman swore that Dr. Wily would have his revenge, but Crashman would never see it. The unexploded bombs were about to go off, and Mega Man simply walked away. Crashman was the architect of his own destruction. In a gem mine near Metal Man's domain waited the next Robot Master, DWN-014, Flashman. A Robot Master Dr. Wily described as one of his greatest accomplishments. The idea for Flashman came from Dr. Light's Time Man designs. Flashman could stop time completely for a short while and unleash a flurry of shots from his arm cannon. Although he's a Wily number, he developed a kind personality towards his fellow Robot Masters and developed a love for photography. He's also sensitive about not having artificial hair, and hates advertisements for wigs. Mega Man confronted Flashman and gave him quite the jump scare. Flashman quickly reacted by freezing time, and Mega Man assumed he was extremely fast. He attacked Mega Man and he struggled against his ability to stop time. When using the Time Stopper though, Flashman's attacks were much weaker. This would be a fight that Mega Man would not finish. While avoiding attacks, his helmet fell off, and a full head of hair was exposed. Flashman was instantly distracted and felt an incredible jealousy. Mega Man had a full head of beautiful hair, and he simply had a shiny bald dome. But the final Robot Master was watching and couldn't contain his need to face Mega Man anymore. He sent a boomerang at the Flashman, destroying his core, and pinned Mega Man to the ground. Mega Man reacted quickly and absorbed Flashman's Time Stopper ability from his body, but the Robot Master taunted Mega Man and retreated quickly. It was now his turn to face the Blue Bomber and do what his fallen brothers could not. DWN-012, Quickman. Quickman was based on Elecman's agile design, and he enjoys anything where speed is the theme, especially car racing. He's got a dislike for any creatures that move slow with a specific dislike of turtles. From the distance, he watched Mega Man take down the other Wily numbers, and he was confident that he could destroy Mega Man for one reason. Dr. Wily built a failsafe inside all of his Robot Masters that prevented Flashman's Time Stopper from being used against them. Unknown to Quickman, and even Dr. Wily himself, Quickman's anti-Time Stopper unit happened to be defective. Quickman's domain led down a mysterious underground path deeper than the gem mines, where natural formations met technology. High-temperature, fast-moving lasers threatened Mega Man, and security was tighter the further down he traveled. Quickman moved through the beams effortlessly and quickly, while Mega Man had to deal with Change Keys, a large fire-based robot designed to create bonfires. Much to Dr. Wily's frustration, the path that Quickman was leading Mega Man through was leading directly to Wily's base of operations. But Quickman wanted to be close by to impress his master. In the battle against Quickman, he fearlessly spun around Mega Man, believing the Time Stopper could have no effect against him. Once Mega Man stopped time and charged a single powerful beam, he blasted a hole right through Quickman and absorbed his quick boomerang ability. He continued to follow the trail Quickman was traveling, and on the other side was a new Wily castle. It was time to confront and capture Dr. Wily and bring him to justice. His new castle fortress was much more heavily guarded than his previous one, and Dr. Light's new support items helped Mega Man maneuver through the enormous gaps leading to the top of the castle. If it was anything like the original Wily castle, Dr. Wily would have his defenses ready. Aside from the Wily number robots and reprogrammed machines, Dr. Wily had also built enormous combat robots to take down Mega Man, the first being the Mecha Dragon. This large dragon-like robot was dangerous, but large and slow. The fast speed of Quickman's boomerang projectiles simply couldn't be avoided in time. Deeper in the castle, Mega Man discovered that Dr. Wily had stolen more ideas from Dr. Light. Early in his robotics career, Light built a security system for his home, the Pico Pico Kun, small blocks made from mini-robots that combine into more mini-robots. Dr. Wily took that idea and modified it to target Mega Man as an intruder. Dr. Wily hoped that flooding the corridors of his castle would slow down Mega Man enough for stolen big fish robots to swallow him whole. Originally, they were placed around ponds as a crime prevention tactic to scare criminals away, and now Wily was using them for his own criminal purposes. But the tactic failed, and Wily deployed the Guts tank. It was a crude and effective weapon, still in its early design stages, and based on the strong armored body of Gutsman, fused with tank parts. It was a desperate measure he activated only to keep Mega Man busy while he formed his latest escape plan. One of Wily's final lines of defense were his boo beam traps. He designed a room to trap Mega Man within, and the boo beams would target him and fire almost unavoidable lasers, but Crash Man's Crash Bomber would destroy them. Dr. Wily was close. In the next room, Mega Man was shocked to see several teleporters. Last time he took one of Wily's teleporters, he faced copies of the robot masters he'd already defeated, but there was no way Wily had time to rebuild them so quickly. But that's exactly what he'd done. On the other side of the teleporter was a copy of Flashman, devoid of personality, simply existing with basic programming to destroy Mega Man. While searching the world for areas to build one of his Wily castles, Dr. Wily made a discovery while tracking an electromagnetic disturbance. A discovery that would change his view on what was possible with technology forever. Deep in a forgotten set of ancient ruins, he discovered a sentient supercomputer from a faraway civilization from beyond the stars. The alien supercomputer spoke to him and revealed that it crashed on Earth 20,000 years ago. Its abilities were beyond anything he'd ever seen before. Alien race somewhere in deep space had mastered robotics eons before humanity. The supercomputer had the ability to quickly create reproductions of existing machines. Near the supercomputer, Wily also discovered a deactivated robot that wasn't ready for deployment just yet. But he did transport the supercomputer to his Wily castle and used its power to quickly duplicate his robot masters. Mega Man made short work of the copied Wily numbers, and Dr. Wily burst into the room with his newly built battle vehicle, Wily Machine 2. But something was wrong. The occupant inside the vehicle didn't sound like Dr. Wily. He spoke about the Earth being a primitive planet, and he'd be able to conquer it with power from beyond the stars. After confronting Wily and his new machine, Mega Man discovered what made his speech pattern so strange. He pried it open, and Wily suddenly began to change into a horrific green creature. It repeated that it had power from beyond the stars. Was Wily an alien this entire time, or was the real Wily replaced by this extraterrestrial? During the final confrontation, Mega Man made a strange observation and remembered the last time he almost caught Wily. He fooled them with holograms. Mega Man extended his arm and noticed something beyond the space around him. In reality, the alien supercomputer was creating a simulation of its alien creator, and it reacted when Mega Man blasted through to its core. With astonishing power, Mega Man powered up a pair of double Mega Busters and blasted through to the alien supercomputer and destroyed it. Wily knew there was a risk of capture. As Mega Man grabbed him, he activated a secret opening in the floor and a self-destruct sequence for Wily Castle. He slipped through Mega Man's fingers again, and the blue bomber rushed out of the castle before its destruction. He could only hope that Dr. Wily made it out in time to survive and pay for his crimes later. Mega Man returned home to Light Labs, where the Light Robot Masters were celebrating his victory with a karaoke session from Gutsman. And Dr. Light had a surprise for Mega Man. While he was away, Dr. Light had constructed a companion for Mega Man, a robot dog he named Rush. Mega Man was ecstatic about his surprise and embraced his new friend and pet. Meanwhile, Dr. Wily was furious about his latest defeat, but he had more plans. The alien supercomputer was destroyed, yet he studied it and built a smaller modified version. Now he could continue creating copies of previous robot masters, as long as he had their designs, beginning the events of Dr. Wily's revenge. One day, Mega City was attacked by Light's robot masters. Vehicles exploded as Iceman laughed at the police scrambling, Fireman blasted his flames all over the city, and Mega Man rushed to tell Dr. Light to turn on the news. But this was impossible. Light's robot masters couldn't be in two places at once. He verified they were all doing their programmed work alongside humans at the same time as the attacks, and Mega Man instantly knew what the case was. These were more copies. Dr. Wily announced a new plan to take over the world, taking credit for the attacks, and demanded the surrender of the world's leaders. And Mega Man set out to stop the copies of Dr. Light's robot masters. The battle led Mega Man through the city, where he had to confront his former enemies, and Dr. Wily waited at his escape UFO above the city, leading Mega Man to a new Wily castle. It was the same plot all over again, and Mega Man knew this somehow had to be a trap. but he entered Wily's new castle either way, and found himself confronted by more copies. This time, 4 of the Wily numbers that he had just recently destroyed. Dr. Wily's true plans began to emerge. In the final teleporter, Mega Man expected to confront Wily again, but this time a new robot stood before him. Wily's trap had been revealed. His goal throughout this entire scheme was to lead Mega Man into a confrontation with the first in a new series of Robot Master, Wily called the Mega Man Killer series. Using everything Wily learned from Mega Man's abilities, he designed Mega Man Killer 1, model MKN-001, named Enker. While Mega Man faced the Wily numbers and the Robot Master copies, Wily was putting the finishing touches on the Mega Man Killer. Enker was cold and purpose-driven. He didn't care about destroying humanity. His sole command was to annihilate Mega Man. Mega Man fired at him, and to his surprise, Enker was easily blown back. But the new robot quickly got up and fired back at Mega Man with an even more powerful blast, displaying the raw power of his Mirror Buster. The Dr. Wily created Enker had the ability to absorb any attack from Mega Man, amplify it, and return it, a seemingly unstoppable obstacle for Mega Man to overcome. Enker stood before Mega Man and commanded him to stand up so they can finish their fight. Mega Man opened fire again with a hail of energy blasts, but Enker sent it back with an even larger attack. And there it was, Mega Man noticed a weakness. As with many of Wily's designs, there was a flaw. Enker could absorb the attacks, but they were still slowly damaging his systems. If Mega Man could continue to dodge his attacks, eventually Enker would take too much damage to fire back. The Mega Man Killer had failed. He collapsed before Mega Man and praised his strength before falling over. When Enker was defeated, Mega Man touched him and absorbed his Mirror Buster for himself. Dr. Wily believed that Mega Man was finally out of the way and enacting the final part of his plan. He broadcast his message throughout the world and revealed that he'd been building an array of skull satellites, each of them containing an extremely powerful laser. 13 satellites were built in all, enough to turn the world into an ash-filled wasteland. Dr. Wily had finally gone too far, and he launched the satellites. Before they could strike, he evacuated to a new base of operations in space he called Base 3, or his Wily station. Dr. Light analyzed the signal coming from the satellite arrays, and they were all coming from Wily Station. Mega Man had to destroy the station to stop the satellites from firing, and he was able to grab one of them on its way up. Meanwhile, the satellite array began organizing for a major orbital strike on the Earth. Mega Man was able to successfully enter Wily Station just after the satellites docked, and he was amazed by the view. It was his first time experiencing the vast deepness of space and its many mysteries. He made his way through the station and took down Wily's security, but they were only light defenses at best. Wily assumed Enker had destroyed Mega Man, and he was preparing to fire the satellite array, but much to his frustration, the thorn in his side survived, and was able to face him. Wily's only protection left was another Wily machine he created as a final defense against a potential Mega Man incursion. This time, Wily truly had no escape. The defeat of his Wily machine triggered the destruction of Wily Station, and his only chance for survival was to take an escape shuttle back to Earth with Mega Man. The mad scientist was in custody, and a grateful Earth waited for Mega Man's return, ending the events of Dr. Wily's revenge. Join me next time for the Mega Man story, Chapter 3, Proto Man Returns. Dr. Wily's on trial and risks spending the rest of his life in prison, but can he convince the courts that he deserves a chance at redemption? And another one of Wily's manipulations results in a secret from Dr. Light's past returning to confront Mega Man, while more robot masters cause chaos across scattered worlds. Then, from a peaceful Earth beyond the present day, a dark version of Mega Man is pulled into the past, possibly planting the seeds of the future in unimaginable ways.